Good morning, and how is everyone this morning? So today my job will be to replace a cracked jewel. So I've got this Elgin pocket watch on the lower left hand side that I'm repairing for somebody. It's all cleaned up nicely, but there's a single problem with this pocket watch. Actually, there's two problems with the pocket watch. One is that the mainspring was weak as heck. So it was a mainspring that was, I think it's called set. So let me see if I can grab this mainspring over here and just show you guys. So this is the main, oh, look at this. I'm melting, I'm melting. I think I got to fix something in my properties and my filters. So this is kind of cool actually. So the mainspring has got a problem, and it's set. You can see that the coils here are just set. So, and there's no way that you can stretch that out to unset it because the metal is set. So you can stretch it out and it might look like it's not a problem anymore because it's a little bit more diameter on that, and you put that back in, and within a day or two of this being wound right up again, it'll bend back and it'll be completely set. I apologize for the ghostly hands. So I wonder if I can do that with my face. Probably. It has to do with filtering, right? Filtering is very interesting in videos. But it looks like some alien guys doing watch work. So this is set. So I ordered another mainspring, and it was pretty simple mainspring, and it has a hook on it here, a hole for the hook actually on the barrel right there, and then it's a T on the side that goes to either side of the barrel. So that was the first problem with the mainspring. So throw that aside because that mainspring is basically trash. And the second thing, I'm looking at this pocket watch, and there's 3 plates on it, and this little Jobby Doo plate here. I got to stop saying Jobby Doo, but this little plate here has got a cracked jewel, and I'm going to try to get a close-up of that cracked jewel so you can see what it looks like. So there's the cracked jewel. This is a pretty cool little close-up, and you can see in my upper left-hand corner, I think my wife corrected me the other day in my last video on that, on the tool that I was giving a description on how to use for making a pocket watch bow, and she said no, it's the upper right hand corner is what I said, and she said no, it's the upper left hand corner. Stop making mistakes in your videos. I was like, yeah, okay, I was tired. Okay, but here, as you can see in the upper left hand corner, I've got this little cool times 10 power what do you call it, lens or whatever, and then I've got my camera over the top of that, and that gives me a really nice close-up on this actually. So I could get the microscope out and do the microscope close-up, but it's not going to be as nice as this. So here I've got the jewel that's in question. The other jewel that we see over here is in perfect condition, no issues at all. But this jewel obviously has a crack on the top part here, as you can see, and on the bottom part, so it's completely cracked. It actually looked like, as you see a little groove on the setting here, it actually looked as though somebody might have put the plate on and screwed it down, and the pivot from this wheel created this particular, this dent in the setting, and then then the dent probably propagated the pressure down to the jewel and cracked it right there on the side. So I think it was just improper watch repair where someone assembled this watch and missed the hole and wasn't paying attention and tightened down the screws over here and tightened the plate down. So that's something you'd never do. I've shown that a jillion times, where you need to just put those screws in nice and loosely, and then after they're in really loose, make sure you've got the pivot in the hole, and then once you can see the pivot coming up through the jewel hole, then you can go about slowly tightening it, and then keep verifying that the pivot is coming up through the top and bottom jewel hole. Usually the bottom one is fine because gravity keeps the wheel down, but the top one ends up being a little bit more challenging. So today I'm going to push this jewel setting out, and then go about seeing if I can replace this particular jewel. So in this case, the depth thing is very important. So the actual height of that jewel and where it sits is very, very critical. So I'm going to actually measure where that jewel is with respect to its height, and then so I can return that jewel to the exact same height again and not have an issue with it. So I'm going to use my vertical caliper to do that, and see if I can, I think that's not what it's called. It's a vertical something or other. I'll use the term jobby doohickey again. How's that sound? My vertical micrometer is what I wanted to say, to measure that. That's a new vertical micrometer, and I'll just measure that by placing this flat on the micrometer and then bringing the micrometer down and then taking a photo of where that is on the micrometer. That way I don't have to write anything down. Just take a quick picture of that, and that'll be the first step. And the second step will be unscrewing the plate and then taking out the jewel. Wowzer yowzer. So there's a picture of the jewel from the top again. So there's the top of the plate from the Elgin National Watch Company. It's a really nice little old watch. It's not a high-end watch, but it is a very nice watch. And this jewel will prevent the watch from running properly. And I think this jewel is for the escapement, which is even worse, because it's going to affect the movement of the escapement. And if you get in really, really, really close to the hole, you'll see that the jewel, because it's cracked, it's kind of, the hole is offset, so it's stepped. And the step function of that jewel will wear away that pivot over time, because believe it or not, the jewel is actually harder than the pivot. The pivot is made of steel, the jewels are ruby, so it's harder. So trust me. So here you can see it looks like there's 3 cracks, but there's 2 main cracks. One at 2 o'clock or 2:30 position, and the other one is at the 6 hours and 15 minutes position. Actually, no, it's at 6:30 position, and the other one is at the 11 o'clock position. So this jewel is toast. So I'll have to unscrew this from the top and then push that out, and then have a look at how that setting is set, and then see if I can burnish another jewel in there. But first I'm going to measure the depth of that jewel. I want to make sure that there's no issue regarding its depth. Now just before I go to the depth of the jewel, I just want to show you what I got, the setup I got here. So I got this cool little ×10 high power magnifying glass. So this just sits over the top and you can look down it and see stuff. But when you put the camera over that, then the size of this looks exactly the same size of the lens. It's actually a pretty good little magnifying glass, and it comes with a kind of cool little case. And it's just so easy to just lean forward like so and look down, and you can see the problems with the jewel right there. So not a problem. So if you're lazy like I am, you get one of these things. I think they're about $10, maybe less actually, because I didn't pay much for this. I think I probably got that on Etsy or AliExpress maybe, because AliExpress has got lots of good stuff like that, and maybe eBay. So I think maybe AliExpress, but it didn't cost much. It was like $10. So that's what I'm using to magnify that, so you can see that. Today I'm wearing my Citizen Blue Angel watch again. I like to advertise for Citizen, obviously, because they are great people, and I am just a Citizen lover. Seiko and Citizens, actually. So this is the Blue Angel watch, and the timing is set with a transmitter. For me, it's in Dayton, Ohio, and so when I press this button down, this little yellow dial here says, yep, you are okay, which means that it did the receiving of the new time, and this is right on the money, and you're also at a high power level, because it is a solar driven watch. You don't have to put a battery on it, you don't have to do anything. It's the Citizen Eco Drive. So I don't have very many watches that are like this. I don't think I have any other Eco Drive watches, but I've got tons of other crazy watches, as you know. So I've got this really nice wooden watch. This is a wooden watch, and it was given to me by my kids, and it's got all kinds of stuff on the back. It says the Fair Melissa TFM on the back, and then it says Pete and Tom. So it's given to me by my children. Years ago they said, hey, why don't I buy the old man a watch? So, and TFM stands for Melissa, but it's from Bugs Bunny, my favorite cartoon when I was a kid, and it's the Fair Melissa, if you understand Sylvester the Cat. So anyway, this watch weighs absolutely nothing, but it keeps perfect time, as you can see. So I actually like this watch if you're into pocket watches and you're setting time a lot. Because this watch is 100% accurate to time, and you use this watch, you don't have to go and open your iPhone up and then open up time is. Let me just see if I can do this really quickly. TIMEIS, time is, exact time is, which is nice. And there's time is, and time is says it's 11:06:37. If you watch time is and you watch the second hand on my watch, when it hits 45, 3, 44, 45, how's that for accuracy, folks? That is the Citizen Blue Angel watch. It's around 450, probably 400, 450. Not that expensive, but still very good watch. All kinds of functions on here. In fact, if you're caught in an airplane and you really want to know if you're going to run out of fuel, you can put your altitude on there, and you can put your fuel loads down and determine whether you're going to land safely. So there you go. So that's the Blue Angel watch. I love it because I can go to a pocket watch like the one I fixed the bail on yesterday. The watch just doesn't run, but I can go to the pocket watch here and just set that with this time, put it aside, and know it's going to be 100% accurate when I go check the time on that watch the next day. So consider one of these watches if you're doing watchmaking, or an equivalent watch that's an Eco Drive, and that's set. The time is set by a radio signal like this one is. So, and again, the radio signal for me, I'm up in Canada A. And the radio signal A is in Dayton, Ohio A. And if you've never been to Dayton, it's the home of the Air Force, and it's got an amazing museum in Dayton where you can look at the Apollo mission capsules and stuff like that. Anyway, little chat. There you go. Okay, here I've got my vertical micrometer. It's my lucky day today because the end of that vertical micrometer fits perfectly into the hole where that joule setting is. So I can make sure that the micrometer is set to 0, which I know it is because I set this before. Just go like that, turn it around a bit from the top, this top part up here, and then reel it back a bit, and then place the plate down here. And then I'm just going to go down into this plate a bit, and I'll be able to see where this joule setting is. And it's this one here, I think, is the broken one. I'm going to make sure I pick the broken one and not another one. Let me just have a look at this really quickly here. Yeah, this is the one that's broken right here. So it's this one over here that's the broken one. So let me just go down into this hole then. So the depth beside the hole is that depth. So, and I don't want to basically read out the measurement because I've got to figure that out again. This is not in millimeters, which is a real pain in the butt, but I was it's not metric. I wish it was metric, but it doesn't really matter as long as you go back to the same position. So I'm going to go down in depth here and make sure, trying to get my fingers out of the way while I do this. And so now that is inside the hole there. And yeah, as you can see, it's going in the hole. I can get a close-up on that, and then press that down a little bit, turn the wheel on the top, get out my iPhone, take a picture of that measurement. Make sure I get a close-up of that measurement. There we go. And that's just in case I need it later on. So it's it might not be necessary depending on what the setting looks like. If the setting has a ridge on it and the joule can only go so far, then there's no issue. So, but if it doesn't, then I've got to worry about the depth, because you don't want the joule to hit the base where the pivot is attached to the main shaft of the gear. So let me have another close look at that going into that hole. So there you go. The micrometer is in the hole. If I rotate it like that, you'll see that going up. And this is a cool micrometer because it doesn't twist as it goes down, which is kind of essential, right? So, and it plunges down into the hole, and that's the depth there. And then at the top of the micrometer, you have to, as you may be able to see, let me just adjust this camera just a bit here. Top of the micrometer here, you just turn this, just going to move this up just a bit more again. Right here, you just make sure it's tight, and then you can turn it, right? And it's made to, there we go. Now when you turn that, that's the resistance that you need to make sure that the bottom part of the micrometer is properly seated down, and you get the same measurement every time. So I want to make sure that I understand that depth. I took the picture already, and I may or may not need it. So the next thing I'm going to do is take this jewel out. So just so you don't make mistakes, you should put a little tiny mark on the inside of that plate to make sure that you're taking out the right jewel. So make a red dot on it like that, and that ensures that when you're doing work on this watch, you didn't take out the wrong jewel, because that wouldn't be a disaster, but it would be, I guess, stupid. So don't take out the wrong jewel. So then you know it's this one here, and when you flip it over, you know that it's this one here. Now you can look at it again. I'm going to go up to my glasses here and have another peek at it. Yeah, so that's the right jewel there. So I just need to unscrew this jewel. I can probably leave it on the mat here, but unscrew this jewel setting and then go from there. So see these lines in my finger here? That's because it got crushed when I was in university by my roommate closing the door on this. So, and I just need to cut these gross fingernails. I apologize for my fingernails, but I do need to cut them. They're disgusting. Wait a second, hang on a second. Look at that, folks, new fingernails. So I might as well cut these stupid fingernails, because if I think they're disgusting, then my audience thinks they're worse. So I might have to get up a little closer here to do this work, but for now, I've got a new pair of glasses which are really good for work, but they also have a ×3 lens on the bottom, which is perfect for watchmaking as well as work, because I can look down at papers, documents, that kind of stuff. But for watchmaking, I don't have to flip between those glasses and the other ones I used to have that were basically drugstore glasses that were ×3, and I kept having to flip between those and my computer glasses. So I've said a million times, move your screws away from your work. Don't put them near your hands, or they'll end up being part of your work. So there you go. And I'm going to see if I can edge that setting out with a couple of just some small screwdrivers here, and just see if I can work that setting out as opposed to pushing it up. May or may not be able to do that. It's a tricky thing to do. So let me see if I can hit my hat on the camera every time, so it keeps my head warm. So the other thing is I want to make sure that that jewel goes back into the right place. Usually there's a mark, but doesn't seem to be one today. So it's I'm just having a look here to see if this setting can be pulled up. Yeah, it can actually. So it might not be successful. There you go. So the setting is up, and it is, let me see this thing. The bad news is the setting has got the jewel embedded in it, so I have to push the jewel out of this complete setting. So this could be a tricky job. I do need to find another jewel then to replace it after I've pushed it out. So time to get out the old jeweling tool and see what I can do. Yeah, that's cracked in 3 places, so that's no good. So there you go. So that's out. But it isn't a jewel and then a cap on top. This is a single setting. So I have to push this out with my jeweling tool, and then I've got to make sure I get the exact same setting in there, the jewel in there. So I'm going to measure the hole of this jewel with one of my pin gauges is what I'm going to use to measure that hole, because if I don't get the hole right, I'm screwed. So I don't believe I have a setting like this either, like a replacement setting like this. I could check and see if I have a replacement setting with the right jewel hole, which would save some time, and I could get the bottles of jewels out and have a look. And but if I don't, I need to replace that jewel within the setting. So I've checked my massive collection of jewel settings, and I've got 0.0 for that particular jewel setting. Now I do have some Elgin old stock here. I got tons of it. Largely this particular drawer is hands, but I have another drawer that's jewels as well. And the bottles are marked up top here. There's markings up here to say what's where, but there are missing jewels in here. So it's a matter of just looking down and seeing if I can find anything that would fit. There's a lot of screws in this one, and I've got a boatload of watch hands here, which I really love. It's good having all these parts too, because sometimes I get caught with something broken. If the bottle is upside down, there's no part in it. And these are not jewels, these are all watch hands and parts. So I need to get the other drawer out and have a look. Alright, this is the Price is Right and what's behind drawer number 2. Now the problem with this one here is that, sure, there's lots of bottles, but in this case here, there's not a lot of parts. So a lot of them are upside down. These ones here are okay, and they're all balance staffs. But yeah, these are all balance staffs. These are good, and some of them are okay, and some of them just don't have anything in them, right? Because they're pretty old. I can't remember where I picked this up, but there's another balance staff. So this one here was filled with balance staffs. It's really old. So down here, I believe there's jewels and stuff down here, but I have to have a look. Yeah, these ones here have got little jewels that are in separate cases or little containers. These are impulse jewels here, which are incredibly small. So I don't believe I'm going to find a setting in here. It'll be a stroke of luck if I were to find a jewel setting in this pile of parts. But I can quickly look down and see if my stroke of luck is any good. I know that if there's a little bit of fabric in the bottom of the bottle, that more than likely it's a balance staff in there, because it's trying to protect the pivot from bouncing off. And I've got some roller tables here that are already it's kind of a double roller system here, and they already have the impulse jewel on them. And I've got some over in the side here, but I don't see any jewels in here that are going to help me. So I think I'm shit out of luck. I think that's the term. And there's the top of the case here for the material listings and how much they cost and stuff like that. So if you look down the mat here, I've got an old set of Schwarzschild cylindrical pin gauges. I think there's only one of them that I think I accidentally broke the thing. So there's the pin gauges there, and a little piece of paper that's broken off or just particled off. And as you can see, there's various sizes of these pin gauges, so it's pretty cool. So what I'll do is try to fit the pin gauge into the hole. That's as simple as that. And I'm thinking that the pivot is probably a 20 or 0.2. So you pick out the 0.2 pin gauge, and I'll show you what these things look like in a second. And you get deep and dirty. Get up close and see if that works. So it fits easily in there. So I'm going to go bigger than that. This is there's a pin gauge that's upside down here, and I think that's the one that's broken. Right there, so I'm going to go to 0.26 on the pin gauge and see if that works. And that is a bit too big. That doesn't work. So 0.24. See if this works. And that fits, but it's pretty tight. As you can see, it grabbed the jewel. So that's right, but too tight, I think. I'm going to take this from the back and have a look at that from the back as well, and see if I can fit it in there, or is it too tight? I think it's too tight. Yeah, that's too tight. It can go in, but it's way too tight. So it is probably the broken pin gauge I have, which is I think this is the broken one. Let me have a look again. Oh no, this isn't broken. This is fine. This is a 0.22, and that fits perfectly. And I'm just moving it side to side to see if there's any side shake on that. And then flip that around. That fits perfectly in that jewel hole. So I'm looking for a 0.22 millimeter jewel. That's what I'm looking for there. The pin gauge that's broken is this one here. It's the 0.11. So I may be able to just either, maybe I can just take a pivot file or repivot that pin gauge and see if I can get a 0.11 in there. So anyway, so it's 0.22. So let me just write that down because I know I'm going to forget it. I'm just going to write it on this scrap piece of paper. 0.22, big red ink. Put that aside. And so now I have the appropriate measurement for that jewel hole. So I'm going to set up my seats jeweling tool here. So I've got the plunger down here that goes in there like that. And then I have the arm that goes like this in here. So that's like that. And for this particular problem, I have got to find the right pusher, and I've got to very carefully push that jewel out of its slot. So I think I will use this device here, which is used for holding a setting if you want to do this kind of stuff. So I'm going to pull this out and make sure I've got the right stuff here. I think there's a little bit of leftover paper, and just dump this for now. There we go. And I've got one here already, but I'm not sure if that's the right one. So I want to take this setting here, and this is going to get pushed out from this side of the setting. So it's going to get pushed out from the top. So I want to find a hole here that's going to hold that setting in place. And I think I've found it. And so I'm going to just zoom in on this to show you what I got. Just hang on. All right, here's the tool, and this is a setting here. So you've got to find a slot here, an opening here that fits that setting, and there's a rim on the edge. So you want to fit that rim on there. And this one looks to be a bit too big. I think it is. I'll have to get a little closer, but yeah, it looks like it's got too much side shake on it. This one here looks like it might be the exact right size. I just have to put it in there and make sure it sits nicely. So, and when I push down, it feels like it's right. So you just take this like that and push down with your finger. And sometimes your finger just sticks, the jewel sticks under your finger, so, which is not good. You can also take the back of a piece of pegwood and move that around. So let me see if I can find something to shift that with. You know, I cut my fingernails and now I can't grab anything because that lead end fingernail is great for picking stuff up. So this has got to be the other way around because you want to push it out from the front downward. And so I've got to fix the base in here. So there we go. So that fits perfectly in that little indent. And there's a, like I said, there's a ridge around the edge here. So now I want to make sure that that setting is in place. This mouth is a bit too wide for that, so I've got to replace this particular thing with something that's a little thinner, so like this one here. So let me look and see if it's got to be thin enough, or it's got to be narrow enough to fit over the setting but still allow the pusher to go through, and this one is perfect. So you look down on it and then make sure that there's still room for whatever pusher you need. That's over here that you can see kind of in the camera, but I'll show you it again. You got to make sure that that pusher goes through. So I just have to replace this, which is a matter of just unscrewing this here. Just replace, get all this stuff out of the way here. It's just a matter of unscrewing all this. I haven't done this in a while, so bear with me. I think I just unscrew it like that. Take it up carefully like this. There's a spring on it on the inside, and you want to make sure that the spring goes back in the right direction. So you turn that spring, turn it around like that, put that back down like this, and I'm going to remove the back part, and I'll show you how that works again, and just throw that one aside. This is the one I want to use, so I'm going to put the screw back in. You get to play-by-play with me here, so I hope you enjoy that. So put that screw back in. I hope you people out there in the world of non-YouTubers that just watch YouTube videos understand how difficult it is to actually do a video and try to explain things. There you go. So the screw's in there. And now I just need to put this back in place. So I'll just put this on top, Try not to fumble around too much. And that should just screw in like that. And then I want to line the top of this up with that setting like that. So, and again, when I screw this in, this thing is not catching yet. So, all right, there we go. So it's catching. As you screw it in, it'll want to rotate. So you just have to hold it in place. And you want this to be parallel. So you want to make sure this is screwed down. This is gonna, when you screw this down, it's gonna put pressure on that setting. So you just want to move this down like this until it hits the setting, and try to look straight down so you can see that setting is in the middle, right? And I'm just going to move this over a bit so you can see that, sort of like that. Hopefully you can see this. See how short my fingernails are on one hand? And I'll do this, yeah, like that. It actually looks like I need this to be longer, like this one here, because I'm looking down the center, and sure, there's enough room for the setting, or for the thing to go through, the pusher to go through, but it looks like I need to use a longer one. So let me just flip that one around. So I've got the longer one in here. By longer, I meant that there's more from here to here. The distance is good, so I can put the pusher through the center. So I just want to screw this in place, and I can use the back to, I guess, hold it in place while I'm turning it, and to make sure that it's pushing straight down on the jewel setting. So let me just do that ever so slowly. And when it contacts the jewel setting, have I got that on the jewel setting yet? I think it's still up a little bit too high. I'm going to turn it a bit sideways so I can look at it. I apologize for the shitty camera angle, but I have no choice in this situation. I need to get in there and do this. So there's that part, right? Actually doing the work. Okay, so there I could feel the this hitting down on the jewel setting, so I'm just going to line that up a bit and then press that down a bit while I'm doing this, and then I can time to cough. So there you can see it's in there now. I tighten this one first, and then I tighten this side next to get it nice and snug in the jewel setting like that. And so I want that setting, I don't want to crack the setting, but I want it to be in there nice and snug. And I can see through the center of this, and there's room on both sides to enable you to just to put the pusher through there. So let me look at the pushers now. So I've got the pushers, if you can see in the camera over on the upper right hand side. I'm looking at all the pushers, and I just need a flat pusher to go in there. So let me try a 95 and see if that works. So I just want this to go through and be free and go through the jewel setting. So, and I'm sorry folks again, but I got to turn this around to have a quick look at it. This might be the right one. Let me look down here. Yeah, I think it is. Let me just try one bigger. I'm going to try a 105. It's a flat pusher I'm using. And a 105 is, I think a 105 is good. I don't want it to be too big, otherwise there's a chance that it could ruin the burnishing on the other side where it's burnished in. So I want it big enough to get in there. I think the 105 might be perfect actually. So it's the same caliber as a tank gun. 105. So I can try the 105. I'm going to lay it down here as well and have a look at. Yeah, I think the 105 is probably absolutely perfect. So there we go, the 105. So I'm going to put that in here. Into the pusher. And if the 105 is too big, I'll know right away probably. I don't want to use one that's too small though, although it will work. Because I'm sure you could push this out if you just used a toothpick. Probably not. You want to push it out carefully because it's a burnished in jewel. So let me just stop this here and change. So there's the jewel in the setting right now, and I believe I've got the 105 I believe is the right one. So I'm just going to lower that. I'm going to make sure it goes beyond. I don't need it to go too far though, so I can set the micrometer on the top up a bit so it doesn't go too far. Let me see, I don't want to unscrew the micrometer completely. That should do it right there. And let me just slide that setting in place here. There we go. So that's the setup right there. And when I push down on this, is the jewel going to come out? That's the question. Put a little pressure on this. No, you know what? That might be too big. I think I'm going to go down another one because I think that there's. Let me try it one more time. Get a little more brave here. It's fitting in. It just needs. I just need to give it some heave ho, I think. So let's try some heave ho on this. No, it's getting stuck in the setting, so that's way too big. So I need to make sure that doesn't get stuck in the setting. It's just slightly too big. So I need to get a different one. I'll just get the 95 like I got last time. Put that one in. Actually, it looks like I pushed the jewel through. I apologize. So I'm looking at the base here. It only got stuck because I had pushed the jewel through. So there's the jewel right there. And it's now in 3 pieces. So I told you before there was 3 cracks on that jewel. So I don't need to use this one. So the 105 was the correct one. So there we go. And I just loosen up this screw here. If I loosen this one first, it'll take the pressure off the setting, and then I can loosen this one here. So just loosen this here, and I want to just dump the setting out. Is that out yet? Is it out yet? Just take that setting and grab that, and I want to have a very close look at the back of that setting, because it's a burnished in jewel, and am I able to burnish another one in? The only good news is that when the jewel is sitting in there, and it's tucked in, it is in a situation where the pivot is the pivot should hold it in place a little bit, but anyway, you want it to be right. You want it to be burnished in properly. So there's my jewel that just popped out, and the question is, how difficult is it going to be to find that equivalent jewel and then place that back in? So I'm going to go about doing that job. So just to let you know, I do have quite a few jewels here. I'm not sure if they'll be the right ones for this particular movement, but I also have some vintage jewels that are in a very nice case full of jewels, and I'll probably go to that because I know I need a 0.22 pivot. I just need to make sure it's the right size. Alright, the next job here is actually to open up the setting. So the setting has got metal that's surrounding it. So if I were to draw this on a piece of paper, I'm going to try to draw this. This could be pretty ugly, as they say, but let me just move these tools out of the way for a second. Just a second. I want to draw this. So you've got I get a pen here and draw this properly. So you got your setting. So there's the outside of the setting on both sides, like that. Right? And then the top of the jewel would be here. It goes like this, and like this, and then it goes inward, like that. And I'll turn this around in a second. It goes inward just slightly, like that. And then on the jewel side, you've got this material actually goes back like this, and then it's got a little bit of a bevel or groove or something like that, like this. So it goes back like this, and then there's a little bit of a groove like that. And on the top of this goes in, out, and then there's this little lip thing here of metal. And it's brass, I believe. Brass going out like that. And then this here, the jewel sits right in here. So the jewel is sitting right in there, and there's the jewel hole like that. And this here, if you look at it from this perspective here, and it's a circle, and I'm looking at it this way, for sort of from the back end of the jewel where the wheel would be down here. I'm looking at this. I'm seeing a circle like that. The same. This is a crappy circle, but just bear with me. There's my circle. There's the jewel hole, right? This is from the back, and then you can see a little rim like that, right? That's the first rim you see on the outside. That's the jewel in there, and then you see a second rim of material, and that material there is shaped a bit like a very small volcano. So right here, this material here. And so when I push the jewel out, let me just flip this around so you can see this nicely. I push the jewel out in this direction. So my pusher pushed it out. This little flap opened up this way, and this flap here opened up this way. And this flap is in fact a full circle. So this thing just opened up. I kept saying in another video, like it's like the Alien movie, right? When you see the pod open up and then the alien come out. This is the pod. So when I push this out, it opens that up just a bit. But it'll spring back a little bit, so you need to open it up even more. So that's what these tools are for. So these tools are used to actually open up the mouth a bit more, and you put that in the setting like that, and then you use these screws here to widen it. So this one here just broke on me. Anyway, use the screws to widen it so it's narrow. So I look at this one here and I see, can that fit in that hole? No, it can't, so it's too big. And I'll show you another tool. This one is way too big, and this one looks like it's too big. So all three of these are no good for this particular setting. I think this is too big. Let me look here. Yeah, it's way too big. I think I just put that one in 2 seconds ago, and that one is, I'm just looking at it thinking, yeah, it's too big as well. So these ones here are meant to open up that setting so it can receive the jewel. So this one won't work, so I just put that aside in my world of tool collection. So I look at this other one here, and what I have here is a tool that is similar, right? And you unscrew this here, and there's a pin there, and this, when you push that pin, or when you turn the top of this here, it pushes the pin outward, which flashes up or opens up the mouth on this. So when I turn that in like clockwise, you can see the mouth is actually opening up on it. So I see which one will fit inside the jewel setting again, right? So let me just get a close-up of this so you can see what's going on. So I picked an end here that would work. I have a better end, but there's one of the little arms is missing on it. And there's three little 1/3 circle ends on this. So I have to pick this one because the other one just won't work. So I know this one will open up wide enough to spread that setting. If I look at it there, it's just sort of on the inside of that setting, like that. And I know that if I look at the other side, it's gonna hit the ridge of that setting. So you just want to make sure that you've got it in nicely like that, and then widen it just a bit, and then turn it, and then widen it, and then turn it. So you should also use a little tiny bit of oil, right? Just so that it's going to reduce the friction on the end there. So I just put a little tiny bit of oil on the end, which I'm doing right now. And that's I've got synthetic oil, like I said before, 0W20 oil. And I want to hold that in place. Now, I can probably put it on the mat to hold it in place because it's not going to turn when it's on the mat. Or I can put it in that other setting holder again and see if that can hold it a little bit better to open that setting, right? So I want to be able to go down on that and then just open it up a bit. Let me just move that. Not sure what is closer here. So that's just like that, I guess. And I'm just going to make sure that that's in focus again. Maybe get a bit closer so you can see what's going on. And it's just tough to get everything in focus. And I guess if I had automatic focus cameras, it'd be easier, but then they're always going in and out of focus all the time. So this camera is kind of strange because it looks like it's not in the center, but then it is, right? So there you go. That's right there, and I've got to get really close to that to make sure I'm doing it properly, right? I should be shutting up while I'm doing this, but I'm going to put that. Looks like it's all oil. I'm going to rub a little bit of oil off of that. I just happen to have a cloth here that I used for my. There we go. That I used for the micrometer. So I put that down in there like that, and then I need to turn that ever so slightly and have a look at it from the other side. And what I'm looking for when I flip it over is that it's not going beyond the rim. If it goes beyond the rim, it's going to widen the setting on the other side, which you don't want it to do. So you want it to be like that, and I want to be able to twist this, so I've got to have some friction there. So that's not too bad there. So it's turning a bit, and I want to open it up a little more like that, and then turn it a bit more. I may have to use my tweezers to hold it. I'm not sure if that'll work, but yeah, that's working. Now, I don't want to make it so big that it cracks. So I'm going to remove this now by unscrewing that, which loosens it, and then look inside. So that's pretty good. So it's fairly open right now. I think I'll be able to get the jewel in there and then burnish it back in. Let me look at that. It's not too bad. So let me go. Oh geez, I think I want to just open it up just a bit more. I'm going to turn that again and put it inside. And then turn it, make sure it's tight. Oh, didn't work. Kind of went back to where it was before. So when I lift that up, once again, look on the other side to make sure that the burnisher, or the whatever you want to call that, is not going through the rim, the edge, right? Because if it goes through the edge, you're going to widen the jewel, and you don't want to do that. So I'm going to open that up just a bit more. Let's turn that just a bit, and then grab the jewel here and see if I can get some action here on burnishing, or opening up the there we go. I just screwed it right out, didn't I? I think that might be open enough. I think that's open enough right now. So that's good there. And I'll show you the tool that's used to close it is looks kind of like, let me grab one of these, kind of like this one here, and that's kind of got an angle on it, and you do the exact same thing except you go on the outside of that rim like that, and then you turn that, and it just closes the alien's pod. All right, back to jewel hunting here. So I've got quite the collection of jewels in the Seats jewel case. So these ones here are too small. They're 22-150, 22-110. That's way too small. So nice jewels, but way too small. This one might be okay. This is a 2200. So I'll have to check the end shake on that one, but this one might be fine, but I'm not sure yet. So I just have to have a look here and take this jewel like that. And this is the right one here. You just throw it on there, and no, that's too big. So it is the continuous jewel hunting for jewels. Tons of fun, I'm telling you. When you find one, you get all excited, but those are too big. So I'm going to go back, do some more hunting. All right, just to make sure that I've got the jewel size right, the hole right, I've got my Seats measuring tool, and I've got the gear that fits into the jewel hole. So I'm going to take this and measure what hole it fits into. And I said it was a 22, and if I look at this jeweling tool here, right, and I go into a 22, doobie-doo, there's a 24. I think it's bigger than a 22. I think I'm wrong, because that's a 22 there, and it ain't fitting. So a 26 fits nicely. 24, it fits. So obviously, as you can see, a 24 does fit in there. So 24 is not too bad. You lift that straight up. But a 22, I think a 26 is better. So I think that is the right fit right there. 26 I think is better than 24. It's close, but so let me see. I gotta see what I can find. So 26, 24, 26, somewhere in there. So 24, 26. So, and what I was doing was just basically, I said basically again, put the gear down, take the jewel, and this is a 19, so obviously it's not going to fit, and try to put that jewel on top of that pivot and see what kind of end shake I get. And I got to get the hole right and the size right. So the size here is almost perfect. It's going to be tough to fit in there. I need to be a little bit smaller because it's a 19-160, so it's probably got to be like a 150 or 140, and a 20, 24, 25, 24, 26, 140. That's the right size. See, 19-160, no good. So I found a 24-150, and that is, I think, the perfect size. So I'm just going to grab this jewel and see if it fits on top. This could be tricky, so I don't know whether this will work or not. I get the setting out of the way, maybe, right? So, put that there. I think I gotta move that setting, and I'll see if that fits in the setting in a second. But this could be tricky. I just want to make sure that actually, because it's a 24, not a 26. So that's fitting in there, but I don't know if it's too big or small or what. Yeah, that looks like it's not going all the way through. That, my friends, is not right. I could force it in, but I don't want to. Yeah, when I push down it a little further, it goes in. Oh, there we go. So it's in now. So let me just, so as you can see, it's sitting in there. It's sitting on the pivot. I just don't know if there's any end shake on that at all, or side shake. So I could grab it with my tweezers and move it just ever so slightly. It looks like there's a little bit of side shake there. Not too bad. Yeah, I think that might work. I'll still see if I can find a 26, but that one does fit in there. It's a bit cozier than I like, but and if I look at it in the setting itself, I just grab that and throw it into the setting. That actually fits in the setting, so I would just have to burnish that in. That's all. Yeah, that fits. So that is a fit, my friends. So that's a fit. But I'm going to go look for a 26 just in case. Alright, so I've tried all kinds of jewels, and actually the 24 150 is a perfect fit. The 28 150 was way too crappy, so I don't want that anymore. So put those back. So that's no good. So I got myself a jewel here. So that's a 24 for the camera, 24-150, and it's the right style of jewel as well. So it's replacing the old jewel, and it's fitting perfectly. There's the old jewel here. Yeah, and it's like a teardrop style jewel, and so is this one. So that's perfect. So all I need to do now is burnish that jewel in place, and I think we got rock and roll, baby. So what I'm going to do is use this base here to burnish in the jewel. So, and again, it's great to have one of these little thingamajobbies. Can't remember what they're called, but they're pretty friggin' handy. So I want to sit that down in the seating here, or the sitting or whatever. May have to go to the bigger one. I'm not sure if this will work because it's not going to be tight enough on the edge to get around that. So I'd have to have a wider one of these, and I think the wider one is probably too wide. So I'm going to look at that, the wider one, and see if I can fit that over. All I need to do is have it on the mat or someplace that's not going to move. I was hoping it would go on here, but I think that it might not. Let me look. No, I could press this down a bit, but my fear is that it's right on the edge, and I don't want to scrape the jewel on the side. So nope, that's no good. No show, Borjo. So let me see if I can do it in place there. If I can, I'll just put it on the rubber mat here and just do it right there, because I've done that before and it's worked. So I just want to make sure that now that this outer lip is the right size, and right now it's too small, so I can move it out a little bit more. And this is tricky work, folks. And move it out just a bit more. I have the right one? I think I've got the right one. No, I don't have the right one in there. Let me look. Yeah, that's not the right one. So I need to change this. And I need to have the one that's got a bevel in there. This one here, I think. Yeah, this one here. So I was using the wrong one. So this one here has got a little tiny bit of a, if you could see it there, it's a little bit of a bevel or something. So I'm not sure if that's the right one either. It's either this one or this one. So we'll go down here on this one and see how big that is. Yeah, it might be the other one. This is called farting around. It's a very detailed watchmaking thing that you do, and you just keep farting around until you get it right. So put that in place, and then I have this in the end here that I've got to tighten and let that open up a bit, like so. And I just want to see if that fits over the top here. It looks like it does, but I think this jewel will rotate, so I'm going to put this on the mat. I think it's much better. There's more friction on the mat than there is on the like that. Get this out of the way and see if I can't turn this slowly here. I'm going to see if I get a better camera angle for you guys. All right, that's not bad. So I just have to put this over the top. Like so, and I'm going to look around all sides here to make sure I'm not. No, it's got to get a bit bigger. Never force anything, just make sure it's the right size here. I think that is actually the right size there. And there we go. And I need to just loosen that just a bit. I'm going to rotate that around the jewel. And it doesn't have to be too tight around that jewel. It just has to be around the jewel. So let's check the other side here. You don't have to press very hard. It's almost done. I'm going to put it on top here again. And then I'm going to loosen the top just a bit, and that's going to allow it to close a bit. And then when I turn this again, you have to find another carpet here because this one's getting worn out. It's almost closed though right now. I'm going to hold this with my tweezers a bit. I'm not sure when I'm right-handed and when I'm left-handed. I just don't want to peel any material off of this at all. So it looking pretty good right now. I'm going to open that up just a bit more. Oh, just a tad. I think that might be good. If that jewel falls out, it's not good, but if it stays in, I think I need to get 2 tweezers out here. I need to burnish this, but do it with the end of the tweezer, I think, too. So I'm still working on this bugger. I'm just doing it a little bit at a time to close this down. It's not as easy as you think it is. Yeah, you gotta basically keep working it until that mouth of the alien friggin' thing is closed. I'm gonna look at the other side too to make sure I'm not pushing on the jewel versus pushing on the setting. Like that's pretty good, I think, there. That's significantly closed there, so I'm going to do just a bit more. Doesn't take much for the mouth of this thing to move, so just do a little tiny bit more here so I can get the outer rim of this of the metal, the brass, to move in. There, I think that's about as good as I'm going to get it. So there you go. It's closed down and ready to go. Now, as the final step in burnishing this jewel, I'm going to push down on it with a little piece of pegwood to flatten the jewel just a little bit, or the cone or the burnishing material just a bit. So. I've done this before with stakes as well, so watchmaking stakes, and that works fairly well too, where you can find the right size stake that's conic, and you can just push on the stake itself, and it will actually move the metal inward as well. So there we go. I think that's good enough for now. I think that's it. And as you can see, there's the new jewel in its setting. I'm going to get a close-up on this baby. Just going to do it right now, so you're going to witness the close-up. And maybe I'll get my little microscope thing out again and try that, right? So there you go. Hope the setting of the thing isn't too annoying. Let me just get the microscope out. Alright, there's the jewel from one side. Looks pretty darn good in there. Now I flip this thing around and you'll see how it's burnished in. So, and there's the jewel from the other side, and I'd say that's pretty cool. So you can see the mouth, or the this area here that's been moved back in, because when you push the jewel out, it spreads out. So I had to burnish that back in. It took a long time, and I'm just gonna, you can fast forward the video if you want, but it took a while to burnish that in properly. So I made sure I did a good job on that. And now that will sit on top of that, or that will go onto the plate. So the plate, I'll just slide the plate in here and refocus. There's the plate. And let me just refocus this for a second. Try the other way. There we go. So there's the plate and the jewel. Now I don't know if I can do this because I got all kinds of stuff underneath it, but probably not. Not a good idea. But the jewel will go in like, just put this down for a second. The jewel goes back in like this. Yeah, just stand that up, why don't you? There we go. The jewel goes in like this. I'm trying to put it back in here. This is, if you can see me on the other camera, I'm actually trying to maneuver this jewel so it's lined up properly. Let me just move my tweezers around here. And then see if I can actually put this down. I don't know if this is the right side either, so who knows. There we go. That's not even close to the hole. Anyway, I'm going to put this jewel back in and screw it down, but I'm not going to do it under the camera. So there. And so I was wrong. It's not a microscope, it's a magnifying lens. That's all it is. So there you go. Let me see. Put that like that. Focus this baby. Should do the focusing when you guys aren't watching. That way you think everything is super professional, right? So there we go. So this jewel will go back in here like that. should just fall right in. And of course I don't know whether I've got the right side. I could have marked it, but it's probably okay. Let me just move this out of the way. Look at that. It's a thing of beauty. There and there. That jewel is now in place. And I just put the 2 screws back. Get my loop out of the way so I can see. Screw number 1. Can't remember which screwdriver I use for these, but probably white or yellow, not black. There's 1. And turn it around with my advanced turning around screwdriver technique. Yeah, don't do that. And there is 2. It's good. And if you look at that again, nice and close up, let's get this device out again and have a quick peek. It's not a microscope, like I said before, it's just a loop. It's a loop on a stand. Loop on a stand. I'll look straight down on it. Make sure it's in the right position. I got the right correct jewel that we're looking at, so that's correct. I want this to be kind of like that, so I'll just put this whole darn thing underneath there like this. Just going to slide it under so it's tight like that, and then this, I'm just going to slide this in so you can see it, and there's the brand new jewel, folks. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to just stop this for a second and finish off, and then I'll make the video. Alright, I'm totally worn out from that. That's replacing a jewel. I got a lot of Seats jewels I've collected over the years in containers, so that's something I've managed to do, is get a whole lot of jewels, which is good and useful. So I was able to find the right jewel, and as you saw, I tested it using my little Seats ruler. Got the hand thing happening again there. See, it doesn't happen on anything but that. Oh, look, there we go. There we go. Anyway, Seats ruler. I tested the jewel to make sure it was the right size. I think I said 24 on there. I think I put in a 24. Thought it might be a 22, but it was actually a 24. 26 was a little bit too loosey-goosey, so 24 was perfect. And the pivot fit in there just nicely. So that's going to work really well. I didn't bother measuring the depth because it rimmed out, and I was able to that jewel just basically is fitting perfect and burnished over. So the tools I use, like I said, to burnish the jewel in is this little kit here I have, and I showed you that earlier, and it's tricky. You got to really take your time. I could have probably oiled the tip of that for burnishing it in as well. I didn't, but I could have probably. It's just, you know, you can, if you take your time, you don't really need to oil the end, but the oiling the end just allows it to slip nicely, and you don't get it caught in the brass that's part of that, or the copper rather, that's part of that, the brass or copper, I don't know, that's part of the metal that you're burnishing in. You don't want it to catch and then all of a sudden ruin that. So I don't know how many times you can do that before that goes away, and you got to get a brand new setting. So that worked really well. You can see on the lower left hand side there's the new jewel right there, brand new Seats jewel. So that's a Seats jewel. It's slightly domed, if you want to say that, and that's exactly what the last one was. And that allows, there's a crater on the top actually, right? So there's a crater on the top for oiling, and then it's domed a bit, right? And that's the way that fit in there, so that's perfect. And as you saw, I tested the escapement wheel, because that's the wheel that this jewel is for. If it's not, I am screwed. but I believe it's the right wheel. So it's got to be the escapement, because there's nothing left on that plate. So, and then the next wheel, of course, would be for the pallet fork, and then the actual balance staff. So that was good. That worked well, and I used this nice little tool I have here. How come my camera? There we go. I used this nice little tool here to hold the jewel in place when I pushed out the setting in place when I pushed the jewel out. So that's pretty handy. It's a handy little tool. I can't remember what that's called, but it's called the something or other. But this is also a seats thing, so just look for seats tools and you can find that. And as you saw in the diagram, it was the hard part was actually finding the jewel was really the hard part, but actually burnishing that back in very carefully was tricky, right? So putting these lips back in place to hold that jewel in, that's the tricky part. So, and then sizing that jewel and getting it right. So it was a 24-150, so 0.24 millimeter hole on it, and it's not 150 millimeters across. It can't be. 15 millimeters across, I think. 150. So 15 millimeters across, and the hole being, is that right? No, it's 150 millimeters across, and the hole being 0.24 millimeters for the hole, 0.24, and then 1.50 millimeters for the jewel size. That makes sense from a decimal place perspective. So there you go, and I'm really tired. So I've been at this for the last two or three hours, I think. I started around 10 o'clock. And so that's 3 hours, 3.5 hours, hunting for the jewels and doing it very carefully. It's a lot of work. So replacing a jewel, there you go. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. If you please subscribe to my channel, like I always say. Isn't that annoying? And you can contact me if you want me to do any work for you. And I'm at, ooh, look at that, jdwatchservice@gmail.com, jdwatchservice@gmail.com. Next job I've got to do, and I got the alien hand. What if I can get the alien face going? Yeah, it kind of works. Anyway, the next job I've got to do is reassemble this pocket watch after I get the mainspring in. I won't bother videotaping how to put a mainspring in. That's pretty simple. I've done that many times. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's pretty exact and detailed. Again, I didn't have to depth it because it was it's sitting on the rim of that setting, so there's no depthing required at all. But you got to have the right tools to do this stuff. You got to search on eBay, probably your best bet for vintage tools to allow you to do this kind of work. So thanks a lot for watching the video, and I'll see you next time. Over and out, good buddy. This is XM52 266-84, the One Cobra. We're up, we're down, we're gone.